Hi there. My name is Rocco. I'm an American with stiff person syndrome, and statistics would say that there are about 331 or so of us living in this country with this particular disease, where it affects about 1 in a million people. Although that might be about the number of people there are many more of us that experience or are caretakers for somebody with chronic pain and illness. So there are a few people that know the exact experience of stiff person syndrome. There are many of us walking a similar path. L&M were wonderful enough to invite us to share something about our stiff person syndrome experiences. And while I've currently had this disease for 25 years, I've only been diagnosed for about 10 months now. It's hard to know which is worse, knowing you have currently incurable and progressive disease, or being ignorant enough to think that someday it'll be figured out and that it was just a problem that needed to be solved and it was taking a long time. In the hopes of keeping this message short, but still reaching deep and staying raw and honest, I wanted to share one recent thought on a problem that had been on my mind. Before stiff person syndrome diagnosis, it was thought for a few years that I had something called cramped fasciculation syndrome. My neurologist assured me it was treatable and we just needed to find the right meds. My spouse was ready for a child and we were buying a home. It seemed my diagnosis was made and I'd be well on my way to recovery. And with the new medication I was on, I had never felt better. We bought a 4-unit that needed renovation, and I did more construction in 8 months than I physically thought I had been able to do for years before that. However, we needed to keep upping my medication because, as I described it, it was like having a honeymoon period on meds where the meds worked incredible, almost miraculously, and then would all of a sudden stop working again after a short period of time. I was assured we'd find the right medication and dosage eventually. Given a very quick backstory, before this neurologist, I had succumbed to the idea of suicide at some point in the far future, as I couldn't imagine how it would feel being in my body in my 50s, as I hurt more than I could deal with, and I was only 37 at the time. But my spouse convinced me to keep moving forward, and this is where I found this neurologist. So having this new neurologist and telling me to hold out hope and that everything was fixable gave me the courage to keep trying to move forward. 3 years into treatment with this neurologist, all meds had finally failed, and he didn't know what else to do. On a whim, he sent my blood work to Mayo Clinic for a new blood panel. It would indicate if I had stiff person syndrome or not, and he said to not expect it, but after Mayo reran my test 3 times, I had a feeling something was up. I tested positive for glycerin receptor alpha 1 enzyme, a sure sign and thought cause of stiff person syndrome. This blew my mind when the message came in my chart. I saw a positive and looked up and panicked, and I had just had a baby 4 months ago, bought a 4-unit and renovated almost the entire place. And now I'm hearing the problem I've been struggling with for 25 years was incurable and progressive. So this is where the special struggles start. The struggle after knowing came into play. I have refractory disease. I might get medications work for me for specific periods of time, but at the end, they'd all fail. Should I put off my treatment until my son is old enough to remember me and then try these treatments in hopes of getting a few years during certain times in my son's growth and development period? Do I do the treatments now? Can I recycle through the treatments? If one stopped working and I stopped taking it for long enough, can I go back to getting it a few months of relief later down the line? The big treatments for me have been IVIG and rituximab, which are both infusions done at the hospital. Rituximab is considered kind of like a chemo because it depletes your B cells, which are a big part of the immune system. The IVIG didn't work at all, but while starting, I had to wonder if I should be waiting until my son will remember me. But if it doesn't work, it's better to know ahead of time, right? The Rituxan will make me immunocompromised. Do I try it now before he's in school? Or do I wait in hopes it'll work in the future when he's older? He'll be in school when he's little. How will that work? How will I be on something that's made me immunocompromised while he's also in school? Having to plan relief years in advance weighing pros and cons and guessing child development versus disease development, and how to time that right. From my poker player perspective, this is a standard problem of incomplete information, and the best decision is going off the assumed odds, although those odds are almost impossible to find and very hard to calculate. From my emotional point of view, I'm not even sure how to approach the problem other than philosophically. The thought of ending the game, hitting the off switch, never allows you to find out what the right answer was. I'm too stubborn to go there anymore. So instead, I'm going to battle it out here in the trenches of chronic pain and illness, and I'm going to try and help lead the charge by sharing instead of hiding. I hope that this goes through somebody that's having a very hard time. And no, you're not alone. I wish you all the best.
Things took a bit of a turn the other day in regards to my plasmapheresis. And this is kind of what's going on and what's going wrong with the medical community is assumptions or just not asking questions. And I was able to get a referral, a recommendation from the stiff person syndrome doctor that diagnosed me. The doctor that has been treating me for the last 18 months refuses to do plasmapheresis. And she's leaving, so I would have to find another doctor anyway. So I went back to my old doctor, and he did put in the recommendation for plasmapheresis. So my primary care had no clue what to do, but my migraine doctor, who does my Botox for my hemiplegic migraines and dystonia, when I expressed to him kind of the situation, he went ahead and got everything set up for me in less than a week. The problem is apparently the doctor, the neurologist who is working the day shift during the week, she thought that he was placing the order because he was going to be taking over as my stiff person specialist. When she found out that he wasn't, she said that she wouldn't have put in the order for me to even do this if she would have known that. So even though insurance covered it, and I had a recommendation from a specialist, and I had an order from a neurologist, she said that had she known that he wasn't going to be my doctor afterwards, and it says in his notes that he wants me to start this as a trial, and then that will give me enough time to get in with another neuroimmunologist. And he said he would put in a referral for one, but she was very upset and visibly upset, and I was a bit intimidated by her. And I told her, I was like, I am here because I'm just following orders, and it's not my fault that she assumed what she assumed. We had to cancel one of my days of doing the plasmapheresis because my numbers were low. So we took a break, and then we did it yesterday. Yesterday would have been my day 3, and it was fine. I was able to stay awake. We were able to keep my blood pressure up. I did not need extra blood products, which I did need with my second day. The only problem is that literally as soon as she was done and I went to go try to eat, I threw up. I had been throwing up my food since breakfast, and I fell asleep with my face still stuck in the bag, and then just woke up in absolute agony at 3 a.m. Aside from that hiccup, and if she hadn't already started the treatment with nephrology and everything, I wouldn't even still be in the hospital. She would have sent me home, which is kind of messed up. But she didn't, she can't, and so I'm going to be here, and we're doing it every other day, or we might have to skip a couple of days until my labs are safe and it's safe for me. I have noticed a difference in this time around. In one, I've been treated with a lot more respect at this hospital than I did before, and maybe it's because I filed complaints against the doctors for injuring me, so now everybody's nice. The nurses, though, oh my gosh, the nurses have been fantastic. That has been a huge blessing for me. And, we'll figure things out on whether or not I'm going to be able to continue plasmapheresis, but I just have to give a shout out to my nurses that were taking care of me in the emergency room and who were taking care of me and are taking care of me while I'm admitted and doing the plasmapheresis. I do feel blessed, and I've only had 2 attacks, which is amazing. Seriously, 2, when normally I would have had about 5 or 6 by now. I guess the doctor who's on call, not the neurologist or anything, but the primary care, because I'm in the critical care center, that doctor, changed some orders around, and some doctors didn't like it. So it got changed back. So I had finally had pain management, and it was awesome. And then they took it away. And now I'm just constantly playing catch up. Like, I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning in agony. And then, I was able to request pain medication, but I have to be in agony until I find a doctor to take me on. I'm going to have to keep flying, 2,000 miles away to where my diagnosing doctor is, because I'm not going to go back to the doctor here locally because she's moving anyway. And, she recommended the other neurologist that's there, but, she wouldn't even give this a chance. She didn't think that it would help. And guess what? This is my first, I've had 3, and it's already started to help. And so I can only imagine if I'm doing this regularly with the other meds, that this could change a lot of things for me. And I don't want that to be ignored, and I don't want to miss out on that just because somebody thinks that it's not going to work, without even giving me the option, when it's literally my last option. And so I am not going to go back to her, and I'm probably not going to go see the other doctor in her office either, because I have a feeling that, she won't be able to be objective. And so I am probably going to be needing several new members of my care team. So that's what I'll be doing while the kids are still in school. I believe all of us kind of reach a crossroads with this disease, and the comorbidities, because we own a lot of us. SBS isn't the only thing that we have. And we've been in and out of the hospital, and I've had sepsis and autoimmune encephalitis, chronic, and all these other chronic illnesses. And it seems like at first, the doctors are eager and, because they've got research papers that they want to do and stuff like that. But as soon as your body doesn't cooperate with the treatment that they want and they don't get the results that they want for the research, then it's like you don't mean anything anymore. And then it's like you get dumped and we feel worthless and we die. And then we went from being this valued rarity, to the doctors and the medical community so that they can, research us and try to save our lives, and, and all of the pitches and everything that they give, they go from that to, they just stop listening. They stop listening. And then it's almost like, did they ever really care at the beginning, or were we just numbers? Were we just accolades for research? Were we just a number? Or did we actually mean anything? A penny for my thoughts, oh no, I'll sell them for $1. There was so much more after I'm a goner, and maybe then you'll hear the words I've been singing. Funny when you're dead how people start listening. If I die young, bury me in satin, lay me down on a bed of roses, sink me in the river at dawn, send me away with the words of a love song. Oh, 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 oh. It shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't take us dying before people listen. It shouldn't have taken Chelsea, or Tans Chelsea, as most of us know her on TikTok and her Instagram, and it shouldn't have taken what she went through. And then all of a sudden, then people started listening. And yes, it's amazing. She's raising so much awareness, but that's not how she wanted to do it. She didn't want to get recognition because a celebrity became sick. She wanted people to know about this disease and to care, because people are supposed to have compassion. She didn't want her death to be in vain, and it won't be. And, I promised her that when she took her last breath, that it wasn't over. And it's not going to be over, because I'm not done yet. There are a lot of us that are not done yet. And we are louder than what we give ourselves credit for. If we come together and we make noise, we make them listen. We make them listen. I'm raising 6 children, and I'm going through this. And my kids see me suffer and my kids see how horrible I've been treated by caregivers, by medical agencies, by medical professionals, by other people, by family, by, and they've shown so much compassion, and I'm so proud of my kids. But they shouldn't have to be so strong at their age, and I shouldn't feel like such a burden to them. But I'm also so proud of them because my kids know more about this disease and know more about how to take care of me than the caregivers that were being sent to my home. Now, what does that say? Do not give up. Don't let anybody try and break you down and tell you that you are not worthy of the treatment that your doctor has prescribed for you. Their opinion means diddly. When you have an order from a specialist for whatever treatment it is, IVIG, plasmapheresis, SCIG, whatever it is, you stand your ground. And if you need help, you find somebody, you find one of us, and we will help you, and we will be on the phone with you, and we will make sure that you are being treated respectfully and with dignity, and that they are accommodating you the way that your body and that you as a human being deserves. We're always going to be here for you. We're not going to give up on you ever.
Hi everyone, my name is Shannon and I welcome you to my podcast called Purpose. I thank you so much for listening. My dream was to build my real estate business to help others feel they are home when they walk in that door. That good feeling of a connection, a comfort, a home that was theirs, which is what I was doing until 2017, when everything changed and I could no longer work. I lost my independence overnight. I felt like an instant burden and anxiety set in quickly. I lost myself and my purpose. Depressed and bedridden days far outweighing each day that passed. Not knowing what happened, I started asking questions and wanting answers. What happened to me? Why did it happen? What do I have? What does this mean for my future? Will this pass? In 2018, I knew it was here to stay due to the progressive symptoms happening in my body. As I stated earlier, I lost my purpose between that time and the purpose I now have, which I will share with you shortly. But before then, as I was writing this, I realized I had a purpose in between then and now. That purpose was to figure out my illness. It became an organized obsession. I seen numerous specialists locally and out of state, collected all my doctor records, blood work, MRIs, etc. After self-advocating for 6 to 7 years, all I got was scratching heads and misdiagnosed. The process of being diagnosed with SPS took 2 to 3 weeks by local doctors. My vein doctor referred me to a back doctor after discussing my leg pains, mobility, and tremor issues. I took all my spine MRIs to my back doctor appointment, and he did a physical exam. His response was, "This isn't your back, it's neurological." Then he referred me to a neurologist. I got in immediately and was diagnosed in October of 2022. Once diagnosed, I felt a purpose again. One, to bring awareness for research, to find a cure for this painfully painful condition, living in the dark, scary unknowns, as each day is unpredictable, striving to stay positive in this incurable, progressive central nervous system disorder called stiff person syndrome. 2, realizing I can still meet my dream purpose, just not as a real estate agent, but to support fellow SPSers by giving them that good feeling of a connection, a comfort, a homey feel. Helping fellow members know they are home when they join our groups. Friends becoming like family. Encouraging, supporting, and uplifting each other through the good, the bad, the ugly, and reminding each of them you are not alone.
Stiff what? Life with a rare condition. Stiff person syndrome. 12 years ago, last December, I'd never heard of this. That all changed that day, and so did my life. Why did I have to be 1 in a million? That is how rare this condition is. For over 5 years, I suffer from short-term paralysis. First noticed while I was lying on the floor, was frozen to the spot. Could move my neck and head, that was it. Then, while I was driving, my legs would have felt like lead. Often I would have to move them onto the pedals by lifting them with my hands. Things came to a head in 2003. While lying in bed, I was unable to move my legs. I ended up being hospitalised for 8 days. The opinion at that time, I had severe B12 deficiency, which meant having regular monthly injections, and that was that. But was it? Then the paralysis began in my arms, my hands. Eating a meal was so much fun, and the medical fraternity could offer no insights into my increasing symptoms. We have done all we can do. It's all in your head. Thank you and goodbye. I was on my own. No one would listen. I lived without response for over 7 years. During this time, my condition continued to deteriorate. I would fall over. My legs became lumps of steel. They became very swollen, and the pain was horrendous. My respiratory specialist said, "That's it, enough is enough. You can't go on like this." So I went looking for a neurologist myself using the internet, and found her through her Sydney University School of Medicine webpage. She's a consultant neurologist at St Vincent's private clinic in Sydney. She did not get my email for some time as she was overseas, but imagine my surprise when she did contact me. Finally, I had some hope. We met in the rooms in December 2010, and after the normal examinations, she advised me that she thought I had stiff person syndrome, plus at least another 3 neurological deficits. She thought it was only a mild case, so medication was prescribed, and I started to get on with my life. Then, in 2012, the wheels fell off. Very severe, uncontrollable spasms in my legs and feet started to invert from the vertical to almost horizontal, and I started having seizures. Things became so bad I was visited to St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney under my now consulting professor, the first person in 12 years to present with a similar condition. And there I spent 3 weeks having test after test, and receiving medication to relieve the spasms. And then my hands and my arms began to invert. I had paralysis. I had become a bit of a show pony, with my ability to throw things without even trying. Mobile phones, cups, ice cream, cutlery, you name it, I involuntarily threw it, due to my seizures. When I was able and stable, I was transferred to Camden Hospital Rehabilitation Unit to begin the task of learning to walk again. I had no idea just how hard that was. I was allowed home after 5 weeks, but it took a further 6 months before I could walk without thinking about it, but only in the house. In 2014, I spent a further 17 days in hospital when I had every test known to man plus some. Still no definitive diagnosis. Complex neurological condition of unknown origin, whatever that meant. I was finally given a diagnosis in September 2019 after further testing in my professor's rooms. You have elements of stiff person syndrome, and bradykinesia, both progressive, both incurable. But my life is back on track, and my faith and determination, plus the unflinching support of my consultant neurologist and the undying support of my wife, has seen me through. Mind you, some of this mountain I'm climbing seems to get steeper, but I still keep climbing, even though my condition is still progressing and I can no longer walk. I suffer from seizures and continuous loss of speech and unrelenting fatigue and depression. The internet has become my way of sharing with people all over the world who have this condition. Many have become true friends, and without them, the journey would not have been possible.
When a balloon pops, I think it's a bomb detonating. My name is Em from SPS Unscripted Podcast, and I have stiff person syndrome. It was only several years ago I was able to say the words stiff person syndrome. My journey to diagnosis was lengthy, longer than the average 7 years, experiencing temporary paralysis of my legs, left-sided paralysis being misdiagnosed as hemiplegic migraines after a clear MRI, and so forth. I'm sure I was labelled as nuts in between the many misdiagnoses. Some days I feel I'm on a crossroads between the yellow brick road from The Wizard of Oz and the never-ending story. I can walk into a room and be reasonably fine, and within seconds I can't move anything other than my eyes. I often feel as though my brain is on fire, and I am sure I can feel every synapse taking place inside my body. SPS is an uninvited, arrogant stranger, narcissistic in personality. For years I tried to ignore its presence after a period of dehumanization and medical gaslighting. When we are at our weakest, we are akin to putty, shaped and bashed around, stretched to our limits, pulled and shaped to fit into what medical professionals and others expect from us. And if we don't fit the shape and size of, ironically, a rare spectrum disease, we are pulped and kneaded. Well, it can certainly feel like that. The saving grace with putty is that we can reshape and recover from the distortion and distress of a diagnosis. We can learn, you, me, we can find another way to live alongside SPS, even in its brutality. For me, I cling to God, the potter, and I, his clay. Some days are so long, I wonder if I'll see them through. I look to the faces of my family, and the heartache is beyond measures. Yet they have accepted who and where I am in life. Self-acceptance, though, is a lifelong journey, especially if living with stiff person syndrome. I have so much I want to say, but I will end with this. If you are diagnosed with SPS, don't try to carry this alone. Reach out. If you are caring for someone with SPS, don't try to do this alone. Reach out. You know where to find me, and I'll be here for you. In the words of the beautiful Saint Faustina, if you ask me, I will help you.
Hello, and my name is Tania Reed, and I have had SPS for 11 years now. I was diagnosed in one day when I was complaining about my symptoms to a coworker, and I was in basically the right place at the right time. I happened to be a neurotrauma surgical ICU nurse in Mission Viejo, California at the time. And my favorite colleague / peer, who happened to be a neurologist and who had known me for 3 years, overheard me complaining about my symptoms to my coworker and simply said, "Tania, I think you have stiff person syndrome. Make an appointment with my office and we're going to do a battery of tests. But yeah, it sounds like SPS." My coworker and I stared at each other like, what the heck is that? Like everybody else does that we tell our disorder to. And he quickly Googled while my doctor and I were talking, and he asked a couple questions and he was convinced it was SPS from the get-go. But when I did do all the testing, and there was so much lab work, a PET scan to rule out cancer because I had lost 30 pounds in 1 month. On my very last shift as a nurse ever, I was literally shuffling to my car. I could barely walk. My hips felt so weak. My back, my neck, I was charting, holding my head because it weighed 8 pounds. No, I'm just kidding. Weighed so much my neck itself was too weak to hold up. Something was definitely wrong. I'm so grateful and thankful that from the very beginning, because I was a nurse and because I had my neurologist peer doctor friend and who made exceptions all the time for me, and same with the ER, and I was there for a year and they remembered me. So when I'd come in, when I myself couldn't take care of my pain, I was shuffled to the front of the line at times. So I am insanely grateful for what I do have, which is a marriage of 31 years to my high school sweetheart. My son was 10 and my daughter was 4 when I was diagnosed at 35 years old. But they are now 22. My son, I'm actually in Tucson, Arizona, right as we speak, for his graduation because he turned 22. And my 4-year-old daughter at the time when I was diagnosed is now 16. And for years, I felt like I had lost my identity. I was this, awesome nurse. And I went straight to patient, and a very difficult patient with a very difficult, rare disorder. But I still feel like I've had this advantage, and all I've wanted to do from the beginning is raise awareness. And thanks to your podcast, you have reinvigorated this fire in me to do just that. And after watching that SPS conference on Zoom, I know we can get more examples, more information with my experience and knowledge. Finally, I just want to thank my family, my son, my daughter, who inspire me every day, my husband, who is the greatest man on the planet, because he takes care of me, the dogs, the house, does all the things I can no longer do. And with therapy, we have learned to communicate so much better, especially when I'm in pain and I can't control my mood or my tone, for example, for him not to take it personal. It's hard on our loved ones to see us suffer. So I have grown so much and want to share how I've reached this point in my life after having gone through IVIG, TPE, and currently Rituxan. I have a lot to share. So thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Hi, my name is Leah. I have stiff person syndrome alongside many other autoimmune diseases. I'm the person behind the page Bent Not Broken Autoimmune. I often get asked why I chose that name. And it's because of the duality of the disease and the way I think about it. Physically, I am bent because of my muscle spasm and my stiffness and how it has affected my mobility. But whatever happens, my spirit will never be broken. I don't want to dwell more on what stiff person syndrome is. I just wanted to explain the reason behind the name I chose to raise awareness and advocate for this very rare disease that only touches 1 in a million.
To be the best version of myself is what I strive for every day. My name is Lindsay. I'm 42 years old, and I was diagnosed with stiff person syndrome in 2011. During that time, it was dark, it was scary, it was flat out terrifying, and not just for me, but for my little family too. But when you fast forward through all the medications, the treatments that were tried, the IVIG, the plasmapheresis, and in 2017 the stem cell transplant, which I thank the Lord for every single day. And I look at where I am now. The road to discovery, it's been a bumpy one, but one that has helped me grow with strength, with heart, with mind, with spirit. And as I look at the days, how I spend my time now, I do what I can to give back, to be an advocate, to be the ears and the heart that I needed back in the day when I was diagnosed with SPS. To give the support that my little family needed all those years ago. So here I am in another part of my SPS journey, one of love and light, of peace, of calm, of finding another way. And I hope that many others who are listening out there today will be able to know and to feel that even though they are in a scary place right now, that there really is a way through SPS. There's a way to walk alongside it. There's a way to calm the scariness, the darkness, to settle the grief and the loss that it takes with it when it comes into one's life. So for me, I'm stepping away from SPS. And these past 3 years, I have been learning to move forward in love and light, in finding another way, in finding healing with nature, with finding calm and peace with meditation, with learning to accept the love that my friends give me, to know that there is so much purpose in this life that I live, and that there is so much love in my heart to bring light into the world of others who have either been newly diagnosed with SPS, who are in the darkness like I was once. But there is another way. There is always another way. With life there's hope, and with hope there's life.
Hi, my name is Madison, and when I was just 18 years old, I became SPS symptomatic. I want to say a statistic. 1 to 2% of SPS patients are pediatrics. That's scary and alone. But I decided to do more. I decided to advocate, raise money, and help those with SPS. 3 figures in my life come to mind when I want to quit, and they inspire me. God, Pope John Paul II, and John Cena. They inspire me when, if I am not breathing or can't talk, to find a way and to not be afraid. They inspire me to not give up ever and to always stand for something.